Okay, we'd like to begin. We'd like to begin. We're up to Daf Dalet. Today's Daf is Daf Dalet. The Gemara asked yesterday, where do you know Kesef from? And where do you know Kesef from? And we said a woman is Mukadesh, has three ways, Kesef, Shtar, Bia. The Gemara asked, where do you know Kesef from? And the Gemara said it's from Amivriya. It says by Amivriya, the Yotza Bechinam in Kesef. She goes out free, we're in Kesef. So this Yitzia, when she goes free, there's no Kesef. But there's another Yitzia that when she goes free, there is Kesef. And who is that? That's the father. You know, when Yitzia, she's getting married, she's leaving the father's jurisdiction to go. So that's where you know Kesef from. We then got into the discussion, how do you know the father gets the money? And we concluded that what the Yitzia Kava say, just like the money the money should have gone to the Adin if there was any money. So too, where there is money, it goes to the Adin, in this case, the father. And that's where we're up to right now. Says the Gemara. Dalvin Amid Aleph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down. Fred the Gemara. The high v'yotza chinam lahachi da'asa. Does v'yotza chinam come to tell me kesef? That come to tell me that's kesef Kidushin? Mi boy led the Tanya. We need it for the following brisa. The Tanya, v'yotza chinam elu yimei bagrus. That when a girl reaches bagrus 12 and 6 months, she goes free. If she was an Amma and she reaches 12 and 6 months, she goes free. Ein kesef elu yimei nairis. That if she reaches 12 and a day, she goes free. So the obvious question is then, if she goes free at 12 and a day, why do you need a lima for 12 and 6 months, right? Obviously, it took place earlier. We'll see what that means. But the bottom line is, if I need it for that to tell me she goes free, you made bagrus, you made nairis, then how can you learn out kesef? Amravina im kain. If this was all it was coming to teach me, lema kra ein kesef without a yud. My ein kesef with a yud, and kesef lod nazel v'yesh kesef lod nacher. Umay neu, and who gets it is the av. Says the Gemara, "My darshin and hachi." How do you know you darshin the lack of the yud? How do you know that? The Tanya, it says by the Bas Yisrael, a Bas Kohen who marries Yisrael, she loses a right to eat truma when she's married to the Yisrael. However, if for every reason she's no longer married, then she would go back, provided she has no children. But if she has children, then what? She would not go back. The zera ein la, and then zera ein la, she has no children, and therefore she'd be able to go back and eat truma in daddy's house. Ainly ella zara, that's only her children. Zera zara minayin. How do you know grandchildren? Tamalayma zera ein la, ayin la. Look into the whole lineage. Even though let's say she wouldn't have a child, but even have a grandchild, the child would die, and she has a grandchild's alive. That also would stop her from eating truma. The ainly ella zera kasha, zera pasal minayin. How do you know? Let's say. That's only if it's kosher children that how do you know that's a non-kosher child also would stop from eating truma? Let's say it's a mamza. Let's say it's a mamza. Hamalema zera ein law. Ayin law. Let's look. So now you might think right now, if you stop and think, well, that's what happened over here. She went ahead and she was mizana, and she now has a child, and it's a mamza, and now the husband dies, so she can't go back to eat truma, right? So or worse. So it says, look at Taisus, the second Taisus down. Zera pasal minayin, oimeri, zera zara pasal kamar. It means zera zara. It means grandchildren. The kiman shenivala lipsul, since in other words, she would be nivala lipsula, unless you have relations with a guy or relations with an eved or somebody else. Pasal min akahuna. In other words, she wouldn't eat truma not because the fact that she does a zera puzzle. She wouldn't eat truma because the act of bia with asa. She'd be a zoina. She'd be a zoina. In other words, she couldn't. Right, so that would passel her. So truma hilkach lekla fari zera psul mamish. You can't say zera psul mamish ella zera zara. Then you'd have to say what zera zara. You can't say zera psul mamish. I don't know why you can't. I just gave you a scenario. You know why you can't say that. Let's say because she's having relations with somebody that's not her husband. Okay, so it's a so therefore that would passel her, correct? The relation would passel her, and so it has to be what it has to be. It has to be that what that it's a grandchild. Okay. Anyway, the bottom line is we got a kasha. What's that teretz? The teretz is that the fact that it doesn't say a yud. The fact that it doesn't say a yud, we're going to make a drasha. And where do you know you make such a drasha from? Because we find by zera zara the same thing. We dash in the fact that zera ein la, ayin la. But fikte le zera zara, How could you go ahead and make a second drasha? I need to teach me that even grandchildren, if she has, it stops them eating truma. So how can I use it to teach me a zera puzzle? You tell me two dinim. You tell me two dinim. One, a grandchild would stop you from eating truma, and secondly, the fact that you was zera puzzle. How can you use it for both things? It says I don't need a puzzle for grandchild because the bnei banim are in kibonim. Ki yitzchra lezera puzzle. The Tana Gufa Minol and the Darishachi. How do you know that you darshan this year? How do you know that you darshan this way? Armi Ksiv, it says by Yavama, it says by Bilam. It says the Lashon is Ma'on Bilam. I think Bilam did not want to go ahead and Labrius. The pasuk says that Bilam Ma'on, he held back from joining, right? So me'ain it's without the yud. Ume'ain yavami. The loiksiv beyud, right? That's how we know to darshan the yud, because the places we don't have it, so where you have it, you darshan the yud. Okay, now, so fellas, we have two sources, right? We have two sources for the father getting the two things that he gets that we learned. One, he gets kesef kedushin. He gets kesef kedushin for yotzachinam and kesef. And we also learned that from yesterday's pasuk. It says if a man sells his daughter as an amma, my amma ma'isa yidel l'rabba, just like an amma, whatever working she does, the goes to her master. Af bas nami, so to a bas also, the money goes to the father. So you need two psukim: one that he gets kesef kedushin, and secondly, the produce, her wages. She goes to work, you get those wages. Why do I need two psukim to teach me similar ideas? This is mithla ma'isa yidel l'via. You have to tell me both. If you tell me lavia that only the father gets the kedushin from the pasuk, you know why? She didn't do any work. What did she do? She wasn't matriach at all. So it makes sense the father should get it. The workings of her hands, the I would say it stays by her. I'd say because she's being supported by her father. The father is sustaining her. In lieu of paying the wages, he's paying the bills. Knows that she's eating in his house. But the kedushin that comes ma'alma, right? And Rashi says, and he didn't think, when he goes ahead and he's supporting her, he's giving it to eat. But not like our days where it's expected. In those days, you know what? You work, you pay the rent. You got to pay rent. You got to pay rent, and you got to
earn the keep.
What? Got to earn your keep. So when she works, he thinks, 1 second, I'm entitled to it.
Not grumbling amongst men.
What?
Not grumbling amongst men.
Only old men. Young men says, what's he talking about? Anyway, so the
Are they still being supported?
right. He said they're still being supported. Anyway, okay. So anyway, the bottom line is very geschmack, fellas. Where she is, where this kesef kedushin, he doesn't stop and think 1 second. I'm feeding you, so your kedushin goes to me. Where she's working and she's eating, she's double dipping. It makes sense that I have my mind on the ma'aseh yadeha. But where he's supporting her and says, I have on a kedushin. So therefore, you have to tell me one else tircha and one else's mindset. So therefore, you have to tell me both. Gufa, going back to something we discussed previously. The yotzechinam eliyamei bagrus and kesef eliyamei nairis. So what is the pasuk telling me? That if a girl is an amma and she gets to be the age of 12 and 6 months, she goes out. And the next part tells me if she gets to 12 in a day, she goes out. Fred the Gemara, the lichtach ramana nairis, just right nairis, leiboy bagris, and I wouldn't need bagris. It's just right nairis. If a leiboy bagris, and I wouldn't need to tell me bagris. Why? I would know clearly. If she goes at 12 in a day, she's not making it to 12 in and 6 months. So Amma Rabba, sometimes, fellas, if you say one, you would say one thing. By saying two, you begin to understand what the other one was, right? No, it's buzz. If I only had one choice, I would have picked Bagros. If I only had, in other words, if I only said one thing, right? I went to pick Nairis. I would have said Bagros. So buzz limin al zeh. By going ahead and saying two, it means one means Bagros and one means Nairis. Okay, so in other words, you're right. You're never going to get to Bagros. You're never going to get to Bagros, right? But let's say, but we're going to see it in a second. So, in other words, I need one to teach me Naira, because if I wouldn't have the other one, I would say Bageres. In other words, if I only had one, I'd say she goes after 12 and 6 months. By saying two, it's teach me no. She goes out 12 in a day. You need one limin al zeh to uptight the other one. Okay, the pasuk says, by we know that Kain's Kinyan Kasboy eats truma. Right? His wife eats truma. His donkey eats truma. His Eved, his Goyish Eved Kanani eats truma. Well, Bibias Misa B'dei Shamayim, if you Kinyan Kasboy, you're eating truma. Now the pasuk says, "V'chol zar lo yochel kodesh." Any non-kohen should not eat truma. That's what it means. Toishiv kohen v'sacher lo yochel kodesh. The toishiv of a kohen and the sacher of a kohen should not eat truma. So that's the fine when it says toishiv v'sacher. Who are we talking about? Says the Gemara. Toishiv. Who is toishiv? Zekoina kinyan olam. That is an eved that is acquired forever. Meaning, as I just told you, an eved kanani eats truma. An eved ivri does not eat trumas, guys. An eved ivri does not eat truma. An eved kanani is kinyan kasbo. He owns him bodily. An eved ivri, he only owns his rights to his work. He doesn't own him bodily. Memela, he's not kinyan kasbo. So it's telling me over here which eved ivri doesn't eat. Zeh koine kinyan olam. Sachir zeh koine kinyan shonim. That's one who's a 6 year. You can be an eved that goes after 6 years. Right, and then you can be an eved that's called a nirtza. You were so happy in the situation, you wanted to stay by the adin predominantly because you were mutter b'shifla kananis. An eved ivri is mutter b'shifla kananis, and he would be very happy in that scenario, and therefore he'd be happy over there. So what does he do? He gets his right ear old, and he stays there for yovel. Adoila means yovel. Now, guys, says the Gemara, yoyma toishav. Tell me kinyan oilam v'lo yoyma sachir v'ani yoymer. Kaina Kinya Oilam is, which is a much more bilus. You have him forever till the oivel. Eina Oichel. Kaina Kinya Shonim, a much shorter period of time, right? Like Kol Shekain. In other words, example, why this is similar to the Bageris and the Naira. In other words, if you know one, you certainly know the other. If I know, if the svara of Truma is your ownership, who do you own more? One that's working for you forever, or one you're working for 6 months, six years? Obviously, the one forever. So if you could tell me forever doesn't eat, certainly the one for 6 years doesn't eat. So if she goes free at 12 in a day, certainly 12 in a day, it's only 12 in 6 months. Like Koshkain, so Ila Kana Yisi Aimer, Toishiv, Zakoina Kinyan Shanim. If I only had one, you know what I would say? That only means, who doesn't eat? The one is a 6 year guy. Avokana Kinya Oilam, I would say Oichel, Basachia Veliman al Toishav. So that was an example of the Gemara giving that one defines the other. Without the other one, I wouldn't know the other one. How can you compare the two? Right? The other two separate bodies. In other words, this guy works for 6 years and this guy works forever. Right? If you would have wrote Nirtza, the one that works forever, and then you would write the other one, Sachir, I could say Milsa Das V'Kal something you learn out of V'Kal V'Chomer, like Torah V'Kasav L'Kra. So let's go outside. Avakal V'Chomer. Madoch, someone who works forever doesn't eat. Certainly someone who works for 6 years doesn't eat. So why did you say both of them? I could tell you that what? Milsa Das V'Kal V'Chomer, something that you learn V'Kal V'Chomer. Torah V'Kasav L'Kra, the Torah will go ahead and tell me the information. Elahacha, Chad Gufahi. Here we're speaking about a girl of one person. We're not speaking about two separate girls. We're speaking about one girl and two different stages. A girl with a stage of 12 in a day and a girl at 12 in 6 months. When she goes up in Nairis, what's she doing him? She can't. If she's going at 12 in a day, she's not going to be there 12 in 6 months. So therefore, says Abaya, I don't like this teretz. Says Abaya, I don't like this teretz. Elam Rabaya, loy nitzracha. V'yatzachinam in kasef. Now we're saying, why do I need v'yatzachinam in kasef? Ella lebagur the islandess. I need v'yatza. In other words, when it said, guys, it said the following: you weren't speaking about a regular boigeres. You were speaking about a boigeres of an islandess, and that's at 20 years. I'll explain. Why don't we say a Naira girls? No girls, a Naira girls. You know, when we say Naira girls, you're so quick on the bar all the time. Right? Anyway,
Couple years.
Anyway, when you a bar mitzvah boy, we assume that what it's an arbitrary number 13. By 13, he's a gadol. It's not really the age of 13 that makes him a gadol. We assume at 13 he's reached puberty. A gadol is when you're being stage saris. That's when you're a gadol. But girl, it's 12 in a day. 12 in a day. The assumption of nairis. Clearly, for example, if you've ever been a bar mitzvah boy in Parshas Zacha, we never let him learn Parshas Zacha because he has to be yitzes midaraisa, and maybe. Right, unless he's like a bar mitzvah boy I know that had mutton hit, sideburns. Like then we're not letting him lane. We're not letting him lane because again, it's a certain stage. An islandess is as we know from Yavamis, is a woman that does not go ahead and show simanim of a woman. She doesn't have siman of a woman, and until 20. So in other words, over here, when it said Eli may Nairis, Eli may Bagras, Bagras is one who just didn't have an iris. She did have an iris because she didn't have simanim. She didn't have simanim. So that's what we're speaking about. Bagras and iris. Let's see. Look at islandess. Look at the second Rashi, guys. Second Rashi from a wide line, second line down towards the end of the line. The islandess. Ain't lo simani in iris. She has no simanim of iris. Vashme'inin kra sheyitzi uho yemei bagrusa kishe yiyelo esem shana. So now we're redefining v'yotzachinam in kasef. Okay, we asked the question, right? We said it's coming to teach me kesef. It's coming to teach me what? It's coming to teach me nairis and bagras. And now we're going ahead and we're analyzing it. Gufa. What are you talking about? If she goes out at 12 in a day, suddenly she's going out 12 in 6 months. So it's going on. We're not talking about a girl that will go after 12 in a day. We're talking about a begeris, and a begeris will not go out then. Elimate bagris, if she is an at the time of 20 years old, then she goes out. Yeah? She's going out 20 years old.
So 12 and a half, she's not showing siman.
She's not showing siman, right.
And so you wait.
Right.
She's still
Bogud the islandess. Bogud the islandess. Now, Salkadech mina benairis tepi bebagris le tepi. I would say that what she goes out benairis, but bebagris she doesn't go out since she was never a naira. No, she was never a naira. She was never a naira. So I would say about kamash malon the pasuk for yatzachinam.
12 and a half is 12 and a half.
12 and a half. 12. No. Yatzachinam at 20. At 20 she goes out. I would think she doesn't go out at 20, right? She doesn't go out at all because she didn't mean iris kamash malon. Then what? She goes out. Again, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. But maskula mabar avashi, the lav kal v'choimahu, and that by geris islandess umas simonim she'im might see in rishus av. If she brings simonim, she's still in the rishus of the father, like we said before. The ma'aseh yadel will go to the father. If she's a naira, 12 in a day, and she's working, the father's still getting the money. Right? Might see him Mishus Adain. Nonetheless, Simonim will get her out of bondage from the what? The slavery. Bagris, she might see him Mishus Av. Bagris that would take her out of the Rishus of the Av, right? Bagris would take her out of the Rishus of the Av. Look at Rashi in the answer your question, Harold. The loyashkachina the zachile kro nairis. Ichsiv lavi naira. We don't go ahead and find that what. We don't go ahead and find that a begeris is in the rishus of the father. So clearly not right. Clearly not like that. So so again, one more time. You wanted to bring a pasuk that a bagris she goes out. You know, you needed a pasuk. You have a havamina You'd have a havamina that the Baigeres does not go what does not what she doesn't go free as from the other. For the Gemara, that makes no sense. I'll tell you why. One more time. Uma Simonim of Nairis. Simonim of Nairis. Shimon 1, Dalar mid base 3 lines from the bottom. Uma Simonim she'ein moitziin mishus. Simonim that do not take her out of the rishus of the father, because the father still gets a ma'aser yedeha. Moitziin mishus adam would take her out of slavery. Bagrish shemoitziin mishus av, reaching the age of Baigeres, 12 in a day. Einoi din shemoitziin mishus adam. Is it not what? Is it not what? So Hesha, you were speaking about islanders. This is Bagris. Bagris shemetziin mishusav in addition to mishusadan. Here's another kasha, guys. Not speaking on islanders. Why do you need to tell me Ela Baigeres? So you jump to Baigeres to islanders. We don't. L'chayra, the whole thing doesn't begin. The whole thing. In other words, you're telling me that you need a pasuk to tell me that a Baigeres vat goes free. What are you talking about? It makes no sense. Madach, a naira that goes free from the Odin, even though she says in the rishus of the father, a Baigeres who no longer is in the rishus of the father, ain't like that, she would go free from. So therefore, I don't need a pasuk. So why do I need a pasuk? V'yatzachinam in kesef elu nairis elu Baigeres. I don't need the pasuk. Elamar Ravashi le'nitzcha ela le'ika ela lika zvina the islandess. I only need the pasuk of the Baigeres to teach us that an islandess that is sold b'katnusa, she can be sold kishabenais. She can be sold like anyone. I need the pasuk. What do I need her for? I need the pasuk that you could sell the islandess. Elam Ravashi le'nitzcha ela le'ika zvina the islandess. That the islandess could be sold as an amma, right? Because if
important to know is to defend or to
just one second. The Yatzachinam in Kesef, Elu Nairis, Elu Bagris, you know what it teaches me, guys? That she can be sold in the first place. That the islanders can be sold in the first place. In other words, you need the pasuk to teach me. So I mean, in the Asa Simanim Nairis, Avezvini, someone who brought Simanim Nairis, the sale is a sale. The Lo Yasi Simanim Nairis, Lo Yavezvina Zvina. But someone who does not bring Siman of Nairis, right? Then no, I don't know. How would you know she's an islandess when she was younger? Maybe I don't know. Again, no. Again, before I guess.
Could be the fathers, because she never hit Bagris. She never until 20. She does not have Nairis. So therefore, the status that she has beforehand continues. She's not showing Simon, and that's
No, but it says Rashi says you'll be sold when you're in Bekatnusa. If you look at Rashi, the last Rashi on the page, like this for Kra the Bagros. I don't need the pasuk to tell me Ela Baigeres. Elamdenu Shah Islandess Nemcheres Bekatnusa. She can be sold Bekatnusa Kishar Bonais. In other words, you say the following. In other words, in order to be sold, fellas, you need the capacity to bring sarais. Yep. In other words, you have to be a naira. Since the Baigeres will never be what, since an islandess will never what, right? She'll never have simonim, so therefore maybe she can't be sold. Kamashmon that she could, and that's what the pasuk is teaching me. V'yatzapinim in kesef. One more time. Alomar Rashi lo nitzrucha the pasuk elo leikas v'ina da'imlusim. It says the pasuk v'yatzachinim eliyamei bagros is to teach me that she could be sold. Because salka, I mean, I would have thought the asya simoni nairis havizvina. Someone who brings simon of nairis could be sold as a katana. The lawyers is simani nairis, but one who does not bring simani nairis, such as the Baigeres, like havizvina zvina, I might think it's not. Kemash malon v'yatzachinam, that even though, right, v'yatzachinam, if she goes out as a Baigeres, must be that what? V'yatzachinam? No, so watch. It must be if she's going out as a Baigeres, it must be that she could be sold. Or else why she's going out. In other words, the limit is you have a kasha, guys, maybe what? Maybe she can't be sold, then why do we need a pasuk to tell me she goes out? Obviously, she's going out, she must be able to be sold. In order, I'd have a havamina. Who could you sell? Someone who will bring stay simonim. So she who doesn't bring stay simonim couldn't. Kamashmal b'yatzachinam ela Baigeres, that even the Baigeres, the islandess, could be sold. Or else, How's she going out if she wasn't sold? So obviously she was sold. According to him, Milsa, why don't we say the same thing? Madach and Ira goes out, suddenly by Geras out. And why do I say the word Ela by Geras is just what? Doubling down on that. So the Gemara says, Hani Mili, when do you say Milsa Dasim Mekabachem Torah Kra? Heichad Lek Lishnuye. That's when you don't have another way to learn Pshat. We have a way to learn Pshat. Mishanin, and you go ahead and learn that. In other words, we have a way to go ahead and say what Ela Bagaris is coming to teach me. It's coming Bagaris, the island is that she could be sold. Then you're not going to say Milsa Dasim Mekabachem Torah Kra. Okay. Okay, so now we if I wake you up in the middle of the night and you'd say where do you know that a woman is what? A woman could be Kaddish Bekesef, you would tell me Kicha Mr. and you'd be wrong. Because why? Because right now all you know is V'yatzachinam and Kesef. Right now all you know is V'yatzachinam and Kesef. Ain't Kesef of Nisel, Yesh Kesef Nos Acha. Now we're going to bring in Kicha. I tell you, we have very mud the Gemara. The Gemara brings in Kicha much earlier, but this is really the source for it. This is the source for it. Again, I found the source. I told you the Ritva brings down the Geras from Shrir Gaon that the first daf was not written by the Ravina Rav Ashi. That's why it's a very strange daf. Until daf Gimel. Until daf Gimel on the base. It was written, the Ritva brings it down. Yeah, Rabbi Savaroi. Now, the Tana Ma'aslei Mehacha, the Tanya, Ki Gachis Isha Bola. A man takes a wife and lives with her. He has relations with her. She doesn't find favor in her eyes. Now, ain't kicha ela b'kesef. Now, when it says kicha, it means kesef. Now, yikach, guys, is lashon of kedushin. Is lashon in other words, lekuchi means kedushin. It means kedushin. Now, we're naming on that this kedushin is kesef. We're naming on that this kedushin is kesef, right? Why? Why are you saying it could be shtar, it could be bia? We know there's three ways. So what do you name on its kesef? That's what Stefan does. And kicha ela b'kesef. And that was the machlokes Rashi and the Tosfos we learned out, guys. According to Rashi, we're learning out all kinyanim from Stefan. According to Tosfos, we're only learning out one thing. That what? That it's kesef. The chinu oimer, the sati kesef asada kach mimeni. So the lashon of kicha and kesef. Now, Fred the Gemara, the halay din. Why do I need a pasuk? I have a din. I have a kal v'chomer that what a woman. I have a pasuk that teaches me that a kal v'chomer that what a woman should be able to be what mekudeshes v'kesef. Where do you know that from? Uma ama evriya, a Jewish female slave. She'ena niknis bibia. You can't acquire her with bia. If the father would give her for bia, the father would say, here's my daughter as an eved, go ahead and be boiler. He would not be kaina. Niknis bekesef is acquired with kesef. Zu sheniknis bebia, ki yikach isha ubala. This one that can be acquired with bia, ein idin shetiknim bekesef. Ein idin is another kal v'chayim that should be acquired with kesef. So why do I need a pasuk about kicha mistay Ephraim? I have a limud. I have a partial limud from Amevriya. Madach and Amevriya, which can't be nikna b'bia, is nikna b'kesef. A woman that can be acquired with bia, ein idin is another kal v'chayim. She can be acquired with kesef. So now, what happens if I show you another person that is dafka yidei bia? Then I destroy the kal v'chayim. Fed Gemara, Yivama techiach. Yivama will disprove you. As we said, sheniknis b'bia and niknis b'kesef. We had our Mishnah, right? A Yivama is only acquired through bia. I say ma li Yivama she'ein niknis b'shtar, taim bezu sheniknis b'shtar. Both, but this one can be kind of. It's the rabbanon. So Talmud Loima, therefore it says kiyikachish or kiyikachish. Now, why? Right now, guys, as soon as you said the following, Taima bezu sheniknis b'shtar. So I just restored the kal v'chayim again. Right. So why? I just restored the kal v'chayim. My kal v'chayim from Amavriya. I asked the kasha from what? From Yavama. I went ahead and did you one more. Madach, this one's kind of shtar and Yavama is not kind of shtar. So I took care of the Yavama problem. So I restored because I was the kal v'chayim from Amma. Talmud Loima ki yigachish. Fred the Gemara halamli kra ha'asyala. Why do I need the pasuk ki yigach? You just gave the kal v'chayim. It's a beautiful Rashi. I'll show you guys. Meikar Dedina means first base. Meikar means from the beginning of your kal v'chayim. I got you. Look at this Rashi, guys. Beautiful Rashi. Right? Look at this Rashi. Says Rashi, Meikar Dedina. Mimokim Sh'ata Bal Lilmoid, from the place you came to learn from, the Hainu Amma Hoivriya Yesh Leheshiv. I have a kash on that. Ulhachi Kamar. Meikar Dedina Pircha, Shatshuva Sheheshiv Bitchila Yevama Techiach, La Meikar Dedina Asya, Elam Makam Acher. In other words, guys, what Meikar Dedina is following. You want to learn out women from Amivriya, correct? So where do you slug it out from? Yevama. I got a kasha from Amivriya itself. That's first base. Meikara means from the Etzem Kal V'Chaimer. You wanted to disprove my Kal V'Chaimer from the Makam Acher, from Yevama. I'll disprove your Kal V'Chaimer from Amivriya itself. Good. That's what we're going to say right now. Meikara, you know why you need a pasuk? Because your Kal V'Chaimer is slugged up. Your Kal V'Chaimer never started. Meikara Dedina Pircham Mehecha Kamaisis La Me Amivriya. Guess what? Malam Mevriya Sheken Yaitze Bekesef, Taima Bezu Sheni Yaitze Bekesef. You want to know why an Mevriya is nicknamed Bekesef? Because she goes out with Kesef. Masha'ei Ken Anisha, she needs a get. She can't go out with Kesef. So Memela Meikara Dedina, not from Yavama, Gufa from Amevriya itself. Beautiful Rashi. Gufa from Amevriya itself, right? So therefore, I slugged up the Kal V'Chaimer, Tamid Loima Ki Yikach, and therefore Ki Yikach. And therefore, I need the pasuk. So I can't learn from Amivriya. And right, very geschmack. Now, so you now have two sources, don't you, for kesef, guys? Now I wake you up in the middle of the night. You got two sources. The Yatzachinam and kesef, ain't kesef ad nazeh, yesh kesef ad nacher, or what? Or kicha mistayefrein. Says the Gemara. Vitzich mitl b'Yatzachinam, vitzich mitl kiyikach. Ish. Di kasef achmana kiyikach havamina. Kidushin the Yovle Baal the Dahave. Right. The Kidushin that the Baal gives will go to her. In other words, Kikach Ishisha, right? And he gets money. Where does the money go? I would say her. Kasrachmana v'yatzachinam, right? Ein kesav ladnezeh, avayesh kes nozacher. Who's that? The father. So I need the second part, the first one that we learned to teach me he gets the money. Because Rachmana v'yatzachinam avamina. Listen to this. If we just write V'yatzachinam and Kesef, Yesh Kesef L'Nacher Havamina Heichid Di Yohiv Ihi Lididei V'Kidashtoi Have Kidushin. I messed it up. Havamina Heichid Di Yohiv Ihi Lididei, where she gives money to him. V'Kidashtoi Have Kidushay Kasrachmana Ki Yikach V'Ki Sikach. Let's stop a second, guys. Listen to this. Hear this? Guys, hear this? Let's go through this. Listen to this. If you would have just a pasuk v'yatzachinam, it would just tell me that the money goes to the father. I know there's money and it goes to the father. It goes to the father. And you know what? And if you just have if you would just have, excuse me, if you just had ki yikach, you wouldn't know the money goes to the father. You need v'yatzachinam that the money goes to the father. And if you just have v'yatzachinam, listen to the drasha. Ein kesef la'adin zeh, aval yesh kesef la'adin acher. Who's the adin acher? The father. But what would happen if she would give money to him? Now I put a rifa out there. I'm gonna because of brevity, I'm gonna speak it out. I put a rifa. It's on your phone. Listen to this rifa. Here's what you would think. As soon as she gives him money, who's now the Adin? She's married to him, right? And therefore, who's the Adin? He is. So when he gives the money to her, who's the Adin? The father. When she gives the money to him, who's the Adin? The husband. You hear this? This. Now, the problem with this is, how can you have a havamina that a woman should miskadeshes herself with money, giving to him? So look at Taisus, guy. Look at Taisus. Heichid the yav l'didu v'kidashta. He says Taisus, the third Taisus down. Perish b'kuntrish shaymeres. She says Hariata mekudeshes li. She says you mekudeshes to me. The kasha shaybiish ein a knife alosh kedushin. Shein nesa b'kach l'shaynashim. Guys, what does kedushin mean? What does Kidushin mean? What does Kidushin mean? I'm answering you, since you're Mekudeshes to me, I'm answering on the rest of the world. But he can marry more than one wife. So it doesn't pass the loss of the Kidushin by the man. So Gavaldik Taisus, Gavaldik Kasha. V'yesh lefares shoimeres hari ani mekudeshes lecha. She says, I am mekudeshes to you. She gives him the money. She says, I'm mekudeshes to you. V'tzarech loymar the yova lididei lav dafka that she gave money. Shari via mekabel kedushin. Right? The father accepts the kedushin. Elaratza loymar v'omra. In other words, it says that when it says over here that she gives, it means she gives the amira. She says, I'm mekudeshes to you. But not that what? She's giving money. He's giving the money and she's saying, I'm mekudeshes to you.
Doesn't he have to say the words?
Again, I'd have a havamina without ki yikach, that he doesn't have to say the words. Kamashwan ki yikach v'loi sikach. Exactly, Harold. Ki yikach, when he takes he's mekudeshes versus ki sicha. Let's go for the thing over here. That's good. See, now the Ritva is learning that he's giving the money. This is the machlekes the Ritva and Tosfos. But the beauty of the Ritva is how you're darshaning the pasuk. Ain't kesef laden zeh. You don't have kesef to who? To the one you're leaving, to the master. But yesh kesef laden acher. That adon acher would be contingent upon who's the adon. Who's the adon? If the husband gives the money, the father's the adon, and the girl gives the money, then the Baal's the Adon, right? It's a very interesting Geschmack of Ritva had a limp shot over here. Albeit this is beyond the scope of the Daf Yomi. What the is going on over here? Again, this is very similar to Nasna Huva Amrahi, which is going to be a sugya aricha. We're going to see a big sugya soon. Okay, every daf here is Geschmack. Okay, ubala melamish sheniknas bebia. When it says ubala, that teaches me she's kind of a bia. Okay, the pasuk says ki yikach yishishu ubala, ki yikach is kesef, ubala is kemashmai. Why do you need a pasuk for? It's a kal v'chayma that you should be able to acquire her with bia. Uma yavama she'ein niknas b'kesef. Yavama cannot be acquired with kesef. Niknas b'bia is acquired with bia. Zu she'niknas b'kesef. This woman who is acquired with kesef ain't a din she'niknas b'bia. So madach yavama kesef doesn't work, but bia does. Where kesef does work, ain't a din that bia should work. Guess what? Because the kesef works and bia doesn't. Sheniknas b'kesef and niknas bia. It's very interesting. And the first time we used the mechiach with yavama, now we're using amavia. The tide has turned, right? An amavia, there's no kinyan for ishus. In other words, you don't become an isha with the kinyan. Later on, you might be. So now, do you have a good kavachayma? Yeah, you got a good kavachayma. You asked the question from Rabbi, I slugged it up. Now you have a good kavachayma. Same question we had before. If I have a good kavachayma, why don't I need the pasuk? What do you need the pasuk from? I learned that from Yavama. I learned that just like Yavama, bia not kesef. So too, we're kesef. It's only bia. So no. So now I'm going to slug it up from Yavama itself. You know why kesef doesn't work? She's a zika. Rashi says, look at the list Rashi on the page. Right? To the brother-in-law. There ain't be a bar ela ligmar. In other words, she's already a shtickle there. Right? And therefore the bia completes the job. Aval kinyan the meikar lie, but initial kinyan not. In other words, I can make a chilik, guys, between the bia of Yavama versus the bia of a Neshus Ish, of a Kinyan Kidushin. By Yavama, Taka bia is a Shvacha Kinyan. By Yavama, you know why it works? She's already halfway there. Machmas the Kidushin of the dead brother. So bia works over there. Masha Enke, where you want to acquire in the first place a gansa woman where there's no shaykhis, Efshanat. It's a good question on your Kalvachaimer. You need the pasuk bala. Right. Toima bezu by a regular woman, shades the kuka by medes, that bia should work, and therefore your Kalvachaimer slugged up. Tamid loymar uba Allah. Okay, here we learn bala. Tanya Menasha.
I don't say
Don't say a kaddish.
whatever you do, don't say that.